Не учим, а практикуем. Играем в английский от души. Свободный и мощный тренажер OxyEnglishBot в Telegram.
Я был так доволен этой долиной, которую я открыл.
I was so much pleased with the valley I had discovered.
Что проводил большую часть времени там.
That I spent much of my time there.
Наконец я построил себе маленький летний домик.
At last I built me a small summer house.
Близко к роще апельсиновых деревьев.
Close by a grove of orange trees.
Он был лишь немного больше, чем беседка.
It was but little more than a bower.
Сделанная из веток деревьев.
Made of the branches of trees.
Я соорудил крепкий забор вокруг него.
I built a strong fence around it.
Он был сделан из 2 рядов высоких кольев.
This was made of 2 rows of tall stakes.
С ветками между.
With brushwood between.
В этом заборе не было калитки.
There was no gate in this fence.
Но только короткая лестница.
But only a short ladder.
Совсем как в моем замке.
Just as at my castle.
Здесь я иногда оставался на 2 или 3 ночи кряду.
Here I sometimes stayed 2 or 3 nights together.
Я собрал почти 200 гроздьев винограда и повесил их сушиться.
I gathered about 200 clusters of grapes and hung them up to dry.
В должное время
In due time.
из них сделался самый вкусный изюм.
They made the finest of raisins.
Я снял их и отнес в мой замок.
I took them down and carried them to my castle.
Так мало-помалу я собрал еду на зиму.
Thus little by little I gathered food for winter.
Зимы там были не холодные.
The winters there were not cold.
Но дождь шел каждый день.
But the rain fell every day.
И часто весь день.
And often all the day.
Я только что закончил беседку.
I had just finished my bower.
И начал наслаждаться.
And was beginning to enjoy myself.
Когда начался сезон дождей или зима,
When the rainy season or winter began.
Что я мог сделать, кроме как поторопиться обратно в замок и его сухую теплую пещеру?
What could I do but hurry back to my castle and its dry, warm cave?
Неделями я не мог выйти, не намокнув.
For weeks I could not stir out without getting wet.
Мои запасы еды начали сокращаться.
My store of food began to grow small.
Однажды, несмотря на дождь,
One day, in spite of the rain,
я вышел и убил козу.
I went out and killed a goat.
На следующий день я нашел очень большую черепаху среди камней.
The next day I found a very large turtle among the rocks.
Это все была удача.
This was all good luck.
Так как теперь у меня было достаточно еды на много дней.
For I had now enough to eat for many a day.
Мои приемы пищи были простыми и неразнообразными.
My meals were simple and plain.
На завтрак я ел горсть изюма и кусок печенья.
For breakfast, I had a bunch of raisins and a bit of biscuit.
На обед у меня была жареная черепаха.
For dinner, I had broiled turtle.
Я не мог приготовить суп из черепахи.
I could not have turtle soup.
Так как у меня не было сосуда, в котором приготовить его.
For I had no vessel in which to cook it.
На ужин я съедал 2 или 3 черепашьих яйца.
For supper, I ate 2 or 3 turtles' eggs.
Хотя дождь вынуждал меня оставаться внутри дома,
Although I was kept close indoors by the rain,
я никогда не был без дела.
I was never idle.
Каждый день я трудился над тем, чтобы сделать мою пещеру больше.
every day I worked at making my cave larger.
Я копал дальше.
I dug far in.
За скалой.
Behind the rock.
И сделал там прекрасную большую комнату.
And made a fine, large room there.
Затем я сделал другую дверь или выход.
Then I made another door or way out.
Которая открывалась снаружи моей стены.
which opened on the outside of my wall.
Так что я мог входить в замок через погреб.
So now I could come into the castle through the cellar.
Или кухню.
Our kitchen.
и не взбираясь по лестнице.
And without climbing the ladder.
Это было намного удобнее и легче, чем наоборот.
This was much handier and easier than the other way.
Но это не казалось таким безопасным.
But it did not seem so safe.
Я боялся, как бы дикие животные не смогли попасть в мой дом.
I feared now lest some wild beast might get into my house.
Хотя самым большим животным,
And yet the biggest animal.
я видел на острове, была коза.
I had seen on the island was the goat.
Вскоре после этого я поместил крышу над всем своим убежищем.
Soon after this I put a roof over my whole enclosure.
Я взял несколько длинных шестов в качестве стропил.
I took a number of long poles for rafters.
И положил один конец каждого на стену.
And laid one end of each on the wall.
В то время как другой конец опирался на скалу над пещерой.
While the other end leaned against the rock above the cave.
Их я покрыл ветками деревьев.
These I covered with boughs of trees.
Длинной травой.
Long grass.
И подобными другими вещами, которые мог достать.
And such other things as I could get.
Таким образом, я сделал очень хорошую крышу, которая защищала от дождя и сохраняла все сухим.
In this way I made a very good roof which turned the rain and kept everything dry.
Мой замок был теперь очень просторным местом.
My castle was now a very roomy place.
Оно было довольно теплым и сухим даже в самую плохую погоду.
It was quite warm and dry even in the worst of weather.
This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, visit LibriVox.org. Robinson Crusoe written anew for children by James Baldwin. Chapter 19. I get ready for winter. I was so much pleased with the valley I had discovered that I spent much of my time there. At last I built me a small summer house, close by a grove of orange trees. It was but little more than a bower made of the branches of trees. I built a strong fence around it. This was made of 2 rows of tall stakes with brushwood between. There was no gate in this fence, but only a short ladder, just as at my castle. Here I sometimes stayed 2 or 3 nights together. I gathered about 200 clusters of grapes and hung them to dry. In due time they made the finest of raisins. I took them down and carried them to my castle. Thus, little by little, I gathered food for winter. The winters there were not cold, but the rain fell every day and often all the day. I had just finished my bower and was beginning to enjoy myself when the rainy season, or winter, began. What could I do but hurry back to my castle and its dry, warm cave? For weeks I could not stir out without getting wet. My store of food began to grow small. One day, in spite of the rain, I went out and killed a goat. The next day I found a very large turtle among the rocks. This was all good luck, for I had now enough to eat for many a day. My meals were simple and plain. For breakfast, I had a bunch of raisins and a bit of biscuit. For dinner, I had broiled turtle. I could not have turtle soup, for I had no vessel in which to cook it. For supper, I had 2 or 3 turtles' eggs. Although I was kept close indoors by the rain, I was never idle. Every day I worked at making my cave larger. I dug far in, behind the rock, and made a fine large room there. Then I made another door or way out, which opened on the outside of my wall. So now I could come into the castle through the cellar or kitchen and without climbing the ladder. This was much handier and easier than the other way, but it did not seem so safe. I feared now lest some wild beast might get into my house. And yet the biggest animal I had seen on the island was a goat. Soon after this I put a roof over my whole enclosure. I took a number of long poles for rafters and laid one end of each on the wall, while the other end leaned against the rock above the cave. These I covered with boughs of trees, long grass, and such other things as I could get. In this way I made a very good roof, which turned the rain and kept everything dry. My castle was now a very roomy place. It was quite warm and dry, even in the worst of weather.